Okay. Hey guys, it's your two poly chicks again,
Hi.
Tiffany and Cindy. Hey,
Hi.
so today we just wanted to come on and, as you see on the screen, talk about
Hmm.
a few of the polls that we've been seeing. This poll, I'm just going to get right into it because this poll is a Gallup poll from September. I think it was conducted between, I want to say August 20. No, let me get the exact dates. The Gallup poll was created between September 16th and the 28th. So that's when they did the questions and how important certain things were for for the voters. So
Voters.
extremely important, very important, somewhat important, and not important. So the top levels of importance included the economy, democracy in the US, terrorism and national security. Let's say the top five. The Supreme Court picks and immigration.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't know if that was surprising to you, Cindy, but to
Yes.
me, it everybody keeps talking about the economy, so that part was not surprising. It was like, okay, the economy, it ranked high in all areas because you're talking about the cost of living. People view the economy as their cost of living, their interest rates, how much do things cost in comparison to their income. And the economy under Trump was deemed good, and I'll say this, he inherited some good
Yeah.
economy from
Yeah.
from his predecessor. And he was just riding the wave, but that's just a whole other thing.
That's a whole
And
nother topic, right?
people
Yeah.
viewed it like more money was flowing, but also in addition to having that wave that came in from the Obama administration, he also had a pandemic that took place where they were just giving away money, and that's
Yeah, I was
not
gonna
usual
say
for a
people were happy
government.
about the stimulus check.
Yes, that's not usual for a government to give money that way. And of course, he signed his names on those checks to make it seem like it came from him. But Biden gave a few checks out as well. So he just didn't want to delay it by signing his name and getting them reprinted.
Yeah.
But
How about
so
that?
and what's happening now is we're experiencing inflation, because what happens when you're giving out money like that? You have to some kind of way recoup that money, and that's what's happening with the inflation. So that has to be
Yeah.
returned. And one other thing I wanted to say about the economy, with it being so important, we keep hearing about it, but it's weird that the United States Congress has not created an operating budget for years. Like that's their
Huh.
job. Just to create a budget, and they have not done that for years. So the
That's not
economy
their
has
job. That's not their
a
job.
lot of layers. Huh?
That's not their job. Their job is chaos until they get the guy they want in office.
Oh, but even when he was in the office,
No, I know.
they didn't have,
Yeah.
what do you call it? A budget, like to operate things like the IRS or the Department of Education or
They
the
want to get rid
VA.
of those things. Yeah, they want to get rid of them.
Even I'm trying to think of other things like, road projects. They want to have help, like, safe roads to drive on. They haven't even funded those things. They're flying, they're not driving.
I
Is that
think they don't want anything that's not what they're told to want. That's under the current guy, but I know that stuff was happening even before that. I mean, when I was in the government, we used to have furloughs and shutdowns.
mm-hmm.
So there's
Yep.
always been this battle with how much do you spend, because that's literally what the parties argue about. How much
Yeah.
do you spend? They only want to spend on the army,
Yeah.
on military stuff. They don't mind spending on that. They will
Yeah.
spend, spend, spend. The military, they're going to spend forever. When it comes to
Yeah.
programs, social programs, not so much.
Yeah. So then what about the democracy in the United States? Like a lot of people, it looks like 49% of the people said it's extremely important. We live in a quote unquote democracy, but not really. And that's another one of our videos we did, because when you elect the president, right, it's not really
It's not
one
the
vote,
popular vote. Yeah.
one voice. It's not the popular vote. So we're in an electoral system operating as a democracy, but not fully a democracy. Did that one shock you, or did were you curious to see that
Um,
result?
I was shocked because I think it's a lie. I don't know how it was phrased, how they got these answers they
Mm,
got, because it depends on how you phrase something in questions. I mean, I can
true.
lead a question in a way. I could say, of the three that I give you, what's important to you? And so now I have to pick that one. So I don't know how the question was asked, but I think that when these 49%, nearly 50% of the people said democracy and terrorism are like very important to them, 45% said that. I
Hmm.
find that strange because we literally have had attacks on our very own soil by our very own people, and we now act like it didn't happen. And so
Mm.
now 40, 50, whatever percent, if you believe whatever the polls are now in terms of his popularity, he's definitely not at 40%. It's way more than 40% of the country is voting for him, saying that, yeah, the economy, but also saying democracy. This is clearly not a person that's for democracy. Not when you're trying to
Mm.
form a coup. Um,
Yeah.
how can you say that when even before when he was still in office as president, I think it was the FBI or national security or whatever said the biggest threat to America right now is on the soil in America,
Yeah.
white
Yeah.
nationalism.
Yeah.
So those things are the biggest threats. How can you say that that's then and then if you look at it, if terrorism and national security are on their top things that they care about, but on the
Hmm.
bottom is the situation in the Middle East and Israel, that thing is a national security question because if, them and Russia, if those people win, then it's going
Hmm.
to be a threat to democracy overall. So,
Mm.
like, I don't understand this poll. Anyway,
Yeah, I mean, it's just I guess it's breaking down the issues. Remember when we first brought this series back with this new election cycle, we talked about the issues. Like, what are some of the issues? And I'm guessing they're ranking those issues like in in order of importance. And from what I understood when I looked at the Gallup poll and the question, and you can always research it or Google it. It basically said in order of importance, list not in order of importance, list the top four. So it was extremely important, very important, somewhat important, or not important. They had to rate each question as
okay.
one of those four. So it wasn't like a A, B, C, D. It was just how does this rank based on what you feel or believe. I'm surprised that the abortion and guns, which you keep hearing people talk about, are like somewhere in the middle. They're like 37%. As far as extremely important for both of them, guns and abortion and
But
healthcare,
to me,
all three of them.
That's consistent with who's voting for who. Because if you look at the
Yeah.
polling, he's not doing as bad as he should be doing. When you think
Hmm.
about abortion and healthcare, he literally said, I don't have a plan for healthcare, but I'm getting rid of that one. So if
Mm.
you say that, that would make me run for the hills if I really cared about healthcare. If you say women's reproductive rights, which abortion falls under that, um, I'm getting back in
Mm.
office and I'm pretty much gonna ban it. And they down now there's a new study that showed that in Texas, the death rate among women now is going up, up, up because of the
Yeah.
new bans. So
Yeah.
now we had some losses in Georgia of women. We've had these highlights of all these cases now that are coming out of people dying, and yet his popularity is still over 50%. I don't
Yeah,
understand that.
it's like I said, I always say it's amazing. It's that's the best word I could use because I'm in awe of how, the popularity and and I do feel, and I hate to say that, I feel like people are more considering personalities versus issues. Like when you talk to people
Sure.
about these specific issues and ask for their stance on these issues, you would get a variety of answers. So I just wonder if it's more personality, and I just wonder where people, are in their thought process. But we can talk about, I know there was one other thing I wanted to share and talk about how the Harris voters or Harris supporters
Mm-hmm.
ranked in addition to the this is a Pew Research. You can always go to pewresearch.org. This one, as you see, it's from August 26th through September 2nd, how they voted.
Tiff,
And
one second
both,
before you say that one. What you just said on the other thing of how people are, you want to know how it is, was it
mhm,
personality or whatever? I think it's
mhm,
messaging. He's very
yeah,
consistent in his message, very forceful in his message, and he was willing before Kamala was to go on any news channel and say his messaging. So
yeah,
putting out the commercials, being just very forceful with what you say instead of shyly, demurely saying it. The Democrats generally tend to do that. She became
Yeah,
forceful when she first came out. Like, I'm the
yeah,
prosecutor and he's the felon. But then it
yeah.
moved away from that. And it became more about, I'm just this joy and all that. And clearly people don't want that. So
Yeah,
I don't, yeah. So it's his messaging is just mean and nasty, and people tend to like mean and nasty. So
that's true.
yeah.
That
So
is
just,
that is
I
so
just wanted to
true.
insert that.
Yeah, and that's true. And when what's curious to me is my word curious. What's interesting to me, I usually say interesting, is both Harris and Trump supporters find that the economy are is an important issue. You have 68% of Harris supporters, 93% of Trump supporters. So that's a high indicator of the fact that the other poll that we showed is accurate. You
Mm-hmm.
have healthcare and Supreme Court picks. The reason the Supreme Court picks, and we have a video on that too of how and why, but we have videos on almost
We got
everything.
beat on
But
everything, guys. Just surf our channel.
yeah, just find it. But the Supreme Court appointments are making decisions on what laws can stand and which laws are just. So it's important because 5 to 4, that all you need, I mean, it's such a tight, there's no room for any type of mistake or
Right.
errors. So when you look at the Harris supporters, they're saying 73% of them find that that's an important thing.
But then,
So I mean,
but then 35% and 67% on abortion, which that was one of their biggest cases, as well as gun policies. They're changing a lot. A lot of the gun policies, the Supreme Court is upholding some of these things of stopping the ban on assault rifles in
yeah.
different states. So these, I don't understand how you saying you care about the Supreme Court appointments, but I guess it could be in the conservative way. Maybe you care. I don't know. That's weird to me.
Well, I mean, yeah, yeah, and to me, like I said, the Supreme Court is significant. They, without them, you're talking about the end of slavery. You're talking about the end of segregation,
There's voting
marriage,
issues. There's
yes, voting
immigration
issues,
issues. There's
yes,
border,
marriage equality. You're talking about so many, and then remember, they
healthcare.
gave the president immunity. So you're talking about so
Oh,
many things that the
what
Supreme
a
Court
fiasco!
decides. Like, man,
What a
it's bananas
fiasco!
to me. So yeah, I can see how that's important to both sides. Because if you know that both sides are thinking we want the Supreme Court in our pocket to further our agenda, either one. So that's why it seems so important to both sides as well. Like I said, the abortion and gun policies, they are
Low.
pretty low on the totem pole when it comes to, let's say, Trump supporters. So I had a note here. I said Harris voters seem more concerned with healthcare, Supreme Court, economy, and abortion, and less concerned with immigration, which is par for the course of what we know, right? But
Mm-hmm.
then when we look at Trump supporters, they're more concerned with the economy, immigration, and violent crime, which are all the markers of what he talks about at his
Well,
rallies. He's
that,
like,
that's what I'm saying. His messaging.
yes,
That's all he talks about. Not that
yep,
he cares because he's gonna do the tariffs, and tariffs are direct as is an indirect tax on the people. And if people would
hmm,
remember, that's not a lie because I don't know if you remember when he was president and the tariffs was high. We
hmm,
had a lot of extra expenses added to like refrigerators and things like that, things that you import, cars and stuff like that. It runs up the tax on it. It becomes a tax bill for you. And he also
yeah.
gave a lot of tax breaks to corporations. So you just don't know what you're talking about if you're voting for that. Like you just don't understand that you're not going to experience what you want to experience as the average Joe under him.
Yeah. Yeah, and what's curious or funny to me is racial inequality and climate change
they
are they're not concerned with that. And I
like
mean
they like
yeah, I mean they could consider that we're in a post-racial world. Maybe that's it, or they could consider that climate change is not, even though we have all these hurricanes and tornadoes everywhere now. Like
yeah.
they could just think that it's a
No,
non-issue.
well, they
So
blamed the dummies
the dummies,
in the Senate. They blamed Biden like
the
for
dummies.
yeah, they're dummies. If you blame a person for climate change, you're a dummy.
Oh
Other
yeah,
than
you're talking about MJ Marjorie
yeah,
Taylor
yeah,
Greene.
MTG, whatever her name is, just like
Yeah,
everything's his. So their messaging is consistent, and it's
yeah,
with all of them. It's with the judges, it's with
yeah,
the Congress, and it's with the executive branch. So their message is straight and consistent. And that's
Yeah.
why the people that live in a silo, in a bubble, don't go outside and
Mhm.
Google anything. They
Nope.
believe whatever it is you tell them because that message is consistent on their radio stations, in their
Hmm.
Congress messages, in the donate to this because of that, in the emails and the text messages he sends them. So that's how it's like easy to really get, if you're gullible
Yeah.
and not curious, to get pulled into that, to believe that windmills cause cancer, to believe any of that stuff, like because you're
Ridiculous.
in a bubble. Anyway,
Yeah.
that
And
we
you're
just
only
want to talk
getting
about that,
that
right?
news. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
only
yeah.
getting that tidbit of information and news. And what I did find that with the healthcare being high on both sides, when we have Obamacare and we have, the ACA, I didn't think that that would rank so high, but it does. And you're
Mm-hmm.
talking about healthcare, the access to healthcare, you're talking about the cost of healthcare as well. So we don't know which way they're swinging, like whether or not they have access to it or if it's
Right.
too high, too low. But everyone should be able to get to see a doctor because I mean,
You
who
think?
wants to suffer? Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think
You think?
it's a I think it's a good thing.
What's interesting
So
that national security didn't even make this list, but the other one had
it,
national security on it. I don't see it
with
unless I'm missing
no,
something.
it's not. And I wonder if that's
That under
lumped
foreign
into foreign
policy? I don't know what that is.
policy. It could be lumped under foreign policy. I mean,
But
you're
foreign
talking about
policy is with other countries. National security is with this country, but I don't know.
screaming again, guys.
Oh, sorry, I am. And I'm so far back. Don't make me
You no,
whisper.
because you came in, you were like policy.
Fire,
You leaned in on that one. What did you say?
because I was trying to read it.
I'm
I was
sorry,
thinking,
backstory, guys. We just had a conversation off camera about the screaming. So we were like, oh, she's not screaming anymore. She was like, watch this.
oh my dear. No, because I was trying to read at the same time. So I was like, foreign policy is not even on here. Like, I mean, or something that is hilarious. But
But yeah,
yeah,
I mean, but both sets are, I mean, anything over 50% to me is a majority. I
yeah,
mean, even numbers say over 50% is a majority.
yeah, pretty
But
much. You
when
win
you
if you
talk
get
about
more than
foreign
50.
policy, we don't know if that means the wars, the trade. We don't know if it means allowing visitors in. Like it's multi-layered. So, or the import of and export of goods. We don't know what foreign policy is captured under that question. So, yeah,
Yeah,
I really don't know. That's a good question. So,
yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, we just wanted to bring the
Thank you, Tiff.
poll,
This was
huh?
good. This was good.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and I mean, they take polls all the time. We just wanted to come on and talk about one or two, just showing and highlighting. And it may have changed. I mean, you're talking about those polls are from a month, and sometimes what they do is they gather the information and then put it out, or it's not put out right away. But we wanted to just talk about the issues and explain why we come on and do the videos because voters are voting on these issues. So,
Hmm.
you know, that's pretty much it.
That's
So
it.
yes, so always Polychicks, like, subscribe, comment, reach out to us. We're at
Mhm.
Two Polychicks, Facebook, Instagram, X, and Gmail. So we'll see you soon on the next video. Bye,
See you
guys.
guys.